Good morning. My name is Walt Tanner. I'm the pastor here at Capstone. If I could go ahead and get the Edwards to come on up and the Chapmans to come on up. Rebecca, this is for you. I kind of realized like you sitting on a stool for... Yeah, I didn't know how you would balance that whole thing. I've never carried a child in me, so I don't really know. All right, so we're finishing up our kingdom stories, and kind of how we wanted to finish it out was just kind of what you heard about serving. Capstone, when we started 14 years ago, we asked the question, what do we want to be known for? And that came around the idea of service. And so, as you heard just Drew kind of say, it's a culture that we've kind of drilled into our family here and what we do. And so we've got these two amazing couples up here who have been serving from the very beginning and have continued to pass that on, and just even a legacy of serving here. Of now their kids are serving here. The Chapman's not yours yet, because yet to come out. But one day. And so I'm going to allow them to introduce themselves and kind of say where you guys serve right now. We'll start with Eric. Oh, and turn your mics on. Sorry, push the green button. Green means go.
All right, I'm Eric Chapman, and we've been here for 14 years, right? And I'm on production, serve on production team.
And I'm Stacy Chapman, and yeah, we have been here from when we used to have to set up Pebble Beach, and I've been in Pebble Beach since we had to set up Pebble Beach.
I'm Rebecca Edwards. I don't even know how many years, however long Capstone.
Well, you've been here since you were like 7th grade.
Yeah, and I have served in Pebble Beach for I think 5 years, and then Edge for about 4.5-ish, but obviously not much longer.
And I am Justin. I started serving in Edge in 2016, I think, and currently serve on the first responder team. And I was a kids greeter before the first responder team.
There you go. So we have lots of different areas that you see up here represented. So why do you guys think it's important to serve? Like, why do you think it's a good thing to be serving on here at the gathering and on Wednesday nights with Edge and all the things you guys do?
So to make a connection, Stacy was my Edge leader. So I think it's cool that we're up here together now. But I have seen people serve, again, like everyone in the video was saying, at Capstone. Like, that's just the heart of Capstone, is serving. Also, my mother, who I'm sure the majority of you know, who's Julie Bagwell, her middle name basically should just be involved at this point, because if she can be, she is involved. So for a long time, I was a little bitter that I had to be at everything because she was there. And I struggle with that going into adulthood of like, well, if I don't have to be there, then I won't be there. But working through that and maturing, there's lots of things in the Bible and about Jesus that I don't really fully understand. But one thing that I do understand is that he loved people and he loved to serve others. So we figured that out. He was like, that's one thing that we can agree on. Like, you can do that. So I feel like from the beginning, that was one thing that kind of just was natural for me to do. And it's also just really fun. I think it's really fun. And I don't always I've been on lots of pieces of Capstone, I feel like. I've been behind the scenes a little bit, and I realize I'm not a dreamer, I'm not a planner at all, but I'm a doer. Like, if you need me to put out some chairs, I will be there that day and I will put out chairs. Or like, if they just need people to watch kids in the back, I can do that. But if we're talking about like the next sermon series or what video concept, that's not me.
So, Stacey, you're shaking your head. What's in your agreement with that?
There wasn't a lot of thought. I just 100% agree with everything Becca said. And I'm sorry, I did forget the question too. Like, why is it important to
Yes.
Okay, well, I agree with everything Becca said. And I think Becca and I kind of grew up similar. Like, my mom gave birth to me, and then we were at church the next day, I swear.
And probably the 9 months before.
Yeah.
As demonstrated here.
Pianist and a deacon were my parents. So anyways, I just relate to, how you I feel like growing up, I was like, I am never doing youth choir. I will never make my kids do children's church. or children's choir, which we don't have here, and I would never do VBS, and because I did it from birth all the way through. But anyway, so I think that I have had a change of heart in the reason behind serving. Like, it's moved from, I still think there's a dedication and a loyalty piece to my family is committed to Capstone. We are going to serve. That's what we've committed to. And people have poured into us, and they poured into our children, so we're going to pour into the church here. But I think, too, as you grow, like figuring out like what your strengths are, what you're committed to, and then sometimes you do VBS because it's what the church is doing and you're committed to the church. And I do think...
And you love to get glitter all over you.
Gosh, my favorite is a free Sunday with glitter and paint. That is sarcasm. Yeah, and I think I think we found like our niches of where, what our strengths are, and that's where we serve. And then Lila is our oldest, and she's 11, and so she has been like chomping at the bit to serve, and finally was able to start towards the end of summer, and she's kind of figuring that out, and that's been cool because right now she's just doing Pebble Beach with me, but during Edge she got to do sound, and she was like, or videos or slides or something. But anyways, she was...
Where the Baby Shark came from.
I was wondering.
Her playlist.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's been cool. Like, she came home from Edge and was like, I think I might want to try that out. So it's cool to see kind of the next group in our family figuring out where they're going to serve.
So Eric, you're kind of a legacy of where you're at in your production. So kind of how did you learn or grow in that, and now how are you carrying that on from where you grew up in?
My story is pretty similar to Stacy's too. So my mom was always involved at grew up at Pleasant Grove Baptist Church. Mom was always involved with like the children's ministry and like the children's choir, the things that we didn't like to do. VBS, and then my dad was actually a charter, charter member of Pleasant Grove. So whenever there was a lightning storm or anything, we were there. Like electrical problems, we were there. Like middle of the night, because we lived like 3 or 4 houses down. So I was literally at a church all the time. But my dad did sound, just watching him, mimicking what he did, and then just getting involved at a young age with them was how I kind of got into running sound and, just being a part of production. But I forgot what the other part of the question was, so I kept talking. I didn't take my medicine this morning. So.
Just your passion for where you serve. Just your passion that you serve, man.
I kind of like it just be, I'm kind of a behind-the-scenes kind of guy. I don't like being in front of people and kind of being up front. So I do enjoy the aspect of being way back there with those guys and making a difference. And like I enjoy music, so I like to see how I can make things sound better to me. It may not be to everybody else, but.
I can't hear if music sounds good or bad. Like when American Idol was a thing, I'd have to like look at him. I was like, was that good? And so even like in church, like I'm like, I think it sounds really good. But he can actually hear the difference.
Not the band. It's usually me. Sorry.
There you go.
It always sounds good.
All right, Justin, so how do you use your gifts and talents here at Capstone serving on service team?
Well, I am a firefighter by trade, so when I was on the kids' greeting team, I felt like kind of cornered by Jeff Holmes and Chuck Bishop. I was like, hey, you want to come be a first responder? Not really. I kind of do it every day. But so I'm a first responder now. And it's the same as every other day at work. It's the greatest job until you're needed. So don't really do a whole lot until you are needed.
Well, that's why you don't want me to be a first responder, because I couldn't fix you like Justin could fix you. So you definitely don't want me to be a part of that. So for you guys, how has practicing, so one of the things we say here is we practice being Jesus here on Sunday mornings, so we serve one another and welcome one another and all of those things so that we can go be Jesus during the week. So how has, whether you serving here or someone serving you, how has that helped you to go be a missionary where you work on Live and Play? So as you've practiced being here, whether it's humility or sacrifice, or how has it helped you out there to serve by serving here on Sundays? He's ready.
I think for me, it's more of when we were serving with Edge and being around middle school and high school kids, knowing that they look up to you. Hope we're a good example. Not always a great example, but I think just realizing that there are people looking up to you, that whether it be, I mean, I've learned a lot more from the kids than they ever did from me. So that's where I'm at.
I would say, so I do Pebble Beach and like 2-year-olds. So when they come to me in the beginning of the year, it's kind of a gamble whether they're going to be able to have a conversation with me or not. Like if I ask their favorite color, it might be purple. And I'm like, okay, all right, we're getting somewhere. So for a while, I was kind of feeling like, I don't really know why I'm back. I mean, I know I'm back here because like there's childcare need, but as far as like me making an impact, it really didn't feel that important. But throughout the year, they change so much and like they grow so much. So seeing the beginning to the end, the little bitty like, hey, how's it going, really does matter as they keep going. And I think that has translated in my life of like every time I talk to a friend or a coworker or whatever, it doesn't have to be some huge impactful like here's the gospel moment. It really is like about building relationships and like then taking it into your own life and hopefully deepening those relationships eventually, but it's not always some huge moment. Even when you don't feel important back there is the reason you're back there.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry, my brain is just, I needed Eric's medicine today. Sorry, I had some valid points. So this might be my last time on stage, guys.
Hey, I forgot someone's name up here yesterday. I mean, last week as I was praying, so.
And you're training him, so yeah, that was way worse. But I do feel like, kind of like what Becca said, you know, it's being committed and showing up every week. And this was an answer to the previous question, but I do think when we didn't have the option for church every Sunday, it changed my like perspective on serving a little bit more and changed my attitude. Because when that was taken away, this sounds really privileged, but I know we're privileged to be able to have church and come to meeting together. But when that was taken away, now we used to kind of joke and like, do you have to serve this Sunday? And then we're like, we get to serve. But that like has really like, I say that now, like I do get to serve and I'm thankful that I can come and, you know, the doors are open and we can have Pebble Beach and parents can come in here. But that was not this question, that was the previous one. But anyways, I think just that dedication and loyalty to coming and showing up and realizing, like sometimes I have a hard time with messages because I'm pretty literal and black and white. So when you give a theory, then I'm like, oh my God, I'm supposed to be doing this. How am I doing this in my life? But I've learned that like with serving, like kind of like Becca said, it's the little things. So it might not be that you go and start a foundation and change the world that way, but that you show up here and you're committed to those, like in my case, I'm committed to those kids. And then when I'm out in the world, I'm committed to, thankfully, I get to serve in my job. I mean, I get paid to, but I'm really thankful for that. But I'm committed to those families I serve. I'm committed to my job. And then when you see a need arise, just take it, and whatever that looks like. And so sometimes that's really, like I was with two of my girls the other day, and there was a man sitting outside, and we like bought him a Pepsi. You know, just like little service things like that, where that is really uncomfortable and weird, but we felt like we needed to do it, so we did it. And I think serving here prepares you to identify those needs in the world and do them, and no matter how big or small those acts of service are.
You got anything? No, you're good? Okay.
That's good.
All right, so we kind of mentioned it before, but for you, Rebecca, how was Stacy and Eric's commitment to open their homes up on Wednesday, how did that impact you as a teenager and as them as a leader?
Well, I would like to formally apologize for every time that I had stayed past what I'm sure you were trying to insinuate me getting out the door. So back in the day, Edge, which now I think we've transitioned to this, but we used to meet in like leaders' homes and do small groups, and then we would come every once in a while all together here and meet as a group. But for the majority of the time, it was, I don't know, like 6 or 7 high school girls in the Chapman house on a Wednesday night from like, I don't even know, 6:30 to who freaking knows when we would leave. And looking back now, having people in my own house, sometimes I'm like, all right, it's 9:30, when are y'all getting out?
Y'all are the only people I like to stay up late for.
I question sometimes if you even liked it, but now looking back, I'm like, good Lord. But we would go over there, and for them to just open up their home, that was a huge thing. For me, I felt super comfortable there. I probably maybe a little too comfortable sometimes. But for a high schooler to be able to have somebody to like reach out to whenever I have questions, specifically Jesus, church, gospel related, that felt really comfortable. Not that my mom or any other leader in my life like wouldn't have given me those answers, but it just felt a little too close to home. I didn't want to ask those questions to those people. So Stacy was like a comfort person that I could always go to, and I knew that no matter how dumb or like privileged my question was, she wasn't going to judge me for it. And so that always meant a lot, and that really started to open up a lot of questions in my own life and like about my own faith and like why I believed what I believed and if I really believed what I believed. So there was a lot of tough years probably coming from me and Stacey had to deal with.
Good thing I'm unaware, and so I'm just like, come eat and talk.
Well, and that goes back to just being consistent and serving, and I mean, that had a huge impact on me, where Stacey may have not felt like it really was doing much, other than there were some random teenagers coming in every Wednesday night. But it really did, and all my friends, I would bring all my friends just because that's where we went on Wednesdays, but they all felt the exact same way. We all felt very welcomed constantly by the Chapmans, and again, I apologize for overextending our stay every single Wednesday.
I just told somebody the other night, that was like one of the greatest little seasons of our life. We loved having, well, I think Eric did too. We loved having, because yeah, the youth would just like show up early, and I knew to have dinner in a crock pot, because sometimes people would eat and sometimes they wouldn't. But they also like, at that time, our kids were like 1, 2, and 3. So, I mean, they were babies, and our friend Tony like Lila was like the first baby she ever held, and I was so terrified. But anyway, some really cool relationships built through that.
And that's one of the joys of being able to do this for the last 14 years. We've seen students who've been a part of service teams and been a part of things, but now they're having babies, and now your babies are now serving on service teams. That we see this generational impact, that when we serve other people, and that one day Rebecca might continue to lead others, and Lila might lead other people in their family. And the idea that that's what service is about. That service isn't about us, again, having to do something because we go to church, but it's that we get to serve our family. We get to impact so many. Hey, how did you guys meet?
She was not in Edge when we met. She had already graduated. But
Love that was the first thing that came to your mind.
We met through a community group.
Ah, there you go.
And serving in Edge.
And serving in Edge. So see, matches made in heaven. All right. So if someone is serving, we'll start with Eric. If someone's not serving on a service team, why would you say, hey, you guys should join a service team?
I think, like for us, like we know a lot of people here and in this area, but especially if you're new, it's a good way to get involved and just to meet new people, different relationships. I mean, I met in our early days of Pipe and Drape. I mean, that's how I met, Chuck Bishop and Marvin and several other guys. We would meet early in the morning, Sunday morning, like 7:30 or 7 or whenever it was. But that's where I learned a lot of people's names and developed some friendships. So I'd say if you are new and don't want to know or don't know anybody, want to get involved, like that's a good way to just find something you like and talk to people. So
Yeah, I think serving too takes it outside of yourself and it makes it bigger than you. And so I think getting plugged in, like Eric said, you can meet people. My helpers are always teenage boys, so that's who I meet through serving. But yeah, it makes your purpose bigger than just showing up and leaving, which is fine if that's where you are.
I agree. I think, like I said earlier, there's a lot of like obligation in church. If you've been in a traditional church, like if you come, you're expected to serve. We agree with that here, but also like make sure your heart's in the right place, because there were times that I have showed up in the past where I was bitter because my mom was forcing me to come with her and do these things. And there was a time where I did not really serve or do anything purposeful in the church. And I really did feel kind of empty and like, all right, I'm really not involved and I'm not contributing at all. And when I did start to get more involved with Pebble Beach and Edge and other things, it really like gives you that purpose, and you can put it on display, whether it's for 2-year-olds or for a new face coming in the door, greeting them, or making coffee. It gives you a lot of purpose, and it is a really, really, really good way to meet people too. I, in my head, think that I know everybody at Capstone, which is a very, very false statement now. And every time I'm back there, I meet a new person and get to talk to them a little bit. Even if it's for 5 or 10 minutes, I can at least know a name and make a connection afterwards.
I think it's like Stacy said, it's more than just coming to church on Sunday morning, which is probably where I resided at a lot. It's just coming to church and leaving. But serving gives it another layer to it, and gives you more purpose, gives you, I think it's easier to find joy in church if you're just not coming and leaving. If you're serving and serving others, it's easier to find joy.
Yeah, I think when we come, and again, we come with that consumer mentality. It's about me, and it's about, did I like the music? Did I like the coffee? Did anyone say hey to me? Versus a contributor where it's like, hey, where can I contribute? How can I bless the church? How can, again, we're not the sinner, it's Christ, and we're serving him. And then we're blessed because other people are serving him as well. And that's that's the beauty of what is called to serve. I've been reading in Philippians for a little bit now, and this popped out this week, and it'll be up on the screen. And for me, again, service is my love language. It's what I love to do. It's how I love to just be able to show things. But this is what it says in Philippians 2, verse 5. Have this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ. So this is Paul talking to the church of Philippi. He says, who thought he was the form of God was not to count equality God a thing to be grasped, but he made himself nothing, in taking on the form of a servant, being born in the likeness of men. And ultimately, when people ask, hey, why should I serve? And Rebecca said this earlier, it's ultimately because that's what Jesus did. That's what he modeled for us, was the idea that we serve, that he said, I didn't come to be served. He said, I came to serve. That's one of the reasons we push really, really hard. And we'd probably be a bigger church if we didn't push serving so hard. But we really think that's what it means to be a disciple. And if you're not a Christ follower yet, hopefully we're serving you so that you can see the love of Christ in that. And so if you're not serving, we love to get you plugged in on your message map. On the bottom, you can rip off and you can put service teams, and we'll get Jennifer Oates. She's in charge of assimilating, so she'll send you emails and ask you questions about where you love to serve. We're heading to a really busy time in the fall, so anyone who says, yeah, I'd love to jump on the service team, you're going to meet new people. You may even meet some of these folks. You're going to hear stories. You're going to get here at what we call huddle and share times in prayer together. And the idea of going, hey, it's just not, again, coming on Sunday, checking a box, but hey, how can I bless others and how can I serve them in the name of Christ? So let's give these guys and all of our leaders and service folks a round of applause for what they do on Sunday morning, because we could not do it. Again, it takes honestly about 50 to 60 folks on Sunday to pull all this off. It's not a staff. We have a few staff, but ultimately it's you guys showing up here, serving and sacrificing, and just like the legacy you see up here of investing in generations. And I really believe that's what's going to make us a healthy church. Not by great sermons and great music and great facilities, but the idea of us having a servant's heart and serving one another, and then that overflows to serving in the highways and byways.